Perfect. All right. So my name is Sunday Muniz. I'm not Mackenzie. I probably show up as Mackenzie. That's my daughter. That's just how my Google account shows up. So I've been a Racine a long time for anybody who's familiar with me, but for those not, I'm a pharmacist by training. And in pharmacy school, I knew something didn't feel quite right. So I ended up finding the nutrition world for personal reasons. My story, just since I'm talking to a bunch of ladies, my story is that at 26, I had twin boys. And I tell everybody they sucked every nutrient out of my body. And I hated how I felt. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like just anything about how I was feeling. I didn't like my fatigue level. You could blame a lot of things on taking care of two babies, but I just didn't like how I was feeling. So I knew as a pharmacist, and this is back in the 90s, my boys are almost 30 now, that the drug of choice at the time for how I was feeling, hands down, without question, would have been Prozac. And I knew that. I mean, every inch of my body knew exactly what I'd be given. And I didn't want to go there. I just wanted to get myself back on track. So that's when I started exploring the diet nutrition world. There's a lot of things I learned through all of this process because back in the 90s, it was the low fat craze. So for any of you old enough to remember that concept, it still kind of is out there, kind of funny, but it's still out there. But I was eating everything low fat. So I'm not kidding. We were eating pretzels and we were eating licorice and we were eating bakery with no fat and we were eating bagels and we were eating all these things that now we're like, oh, ooh, wow, that's not good. And it's just what we were doing. And I felt terrible. I learned a lot about myself during that time because I literally cannot eat that way. I can't do it. I am a protein. I do best with protein. I do really good with fruits and vegetables. You combine those and I'm doing extremely well. So I learned a lot through a lot of that process. And then of course, I pretty much spend my entire day now helping people kind of muddle through the supplement and vitamin world in order to improve life. But at the heart of it, the thing I love the best about what I do is I love the possibilities of prevention and being proactive for your health. And so that's, again, a really huge part of why I love what I do. Because I bring up to people daily, I go, I don't do what I do to live forever. I do what I do to live well and feel good and have my energy and have my brain intact and don't have joint pain and all those kinds of things. That's why I do what I do, so that at least the quality, eventually things find you, right? We don't get out of this world alive. So things will find us. But to me, at the end of the day, the goal with everything is just to make sure that you feel your best and you can enjoy your family and your friends and do the things that you love to do as best as you can. So that's just kind of me in a nutshell. Okay. So, and just, what I spend most of my day doing. So in that process, Missy has given me just, some tips and ideas of things, that we kind of were going to talk about tonight, but, anybody, any questions? Because I do love questions. I love to feed off of you guys. If there's questions that you have, I would much rather answer them than just ramble. So if you have some questions, I'd love to feed them. So. Go ahead, Amy, did you?
Oh, I can start. So I'm a vegetarian,
Sure.
and so is my daughter. And so she's 2. And so her doctor has started recommending for us to take some vitamins just because, being a vegetarian, we don't meet all of the, our iron might be low and so forth. So they recommended Flintstones vitamins for her. I was talking to Missy the other day and I'm like, I don't want to give those to her. I want to give her something more natural and all of that stuff. So I was just kind of, she's healthy overall, but we just want to make sure that she doesn't just we're meeting the data. I mean, obviously daily we don't get probably enough of the iron and the protein.
Right. Are you vegan or are you just vegetarian?
Just vegetarian. So I mean, we don't eat fish or anything like that, but just yeah.
You
just
do dairy, you do like
yeah.
cow's milk and cheese
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
So okay, all right. So then of course, you got doing that, you have a little bit stronger protein content going on. So that's good. Okay.
Yeah, protein I'm not so probably worried about because we do a lot of lentils and stuff like that too.
Perfect.
So I think it's more so iron because that's something that I also lack in.
Okay. So of course, there's a number of ways to look at it, supplementation. We can talk about that too. But from a vegetarian standpoint, I'm a huge fan of nutritional yeast. So like you got to nutritional yeast the heck out of your food, okay? Because it is loaded with B vitamins. Okay. All right. And in order to even create healthy blood products, you need all your Bs. And nutritional yeast is yellow because it's full of Bs. Okay. So, I mean, that's got to go in like everything. So do you do eggs?
Yeah.
Do you do eggs? Okay. All right. So like, scrambled eggs, are you putting your nutritional yeast on popcorn you're making and on your vegetables and, just anything to get that strong B. Okay. That's it. That's a big one. Okay. Because our main source of Bs for most people in their diet is meat. So that's a huge one. And then, you got to go start looking at the certain things in the color of the food. So molasses is loaded with iron. All right. So from a sweetener standpoint, it's a great sweetener for you to make sure you're putting in oatmeal. Okay. Or like you're making applesauce and I put some molasses in there. Okay. Because that dark, rich color screams iron. All right. So there's even a certain amount of, iron content in olives as well. Okay. So the darker olives, but that's again, that color factor is going to kind of show you that iron. So if we're going to pull from food sources, then those are great. And I love molasses. It kind of got a, brown sugary type of, thing to it when you add it to other flavors, especially like applesauce. Right. It's really tasty. So, so definitely, look to something like molasses. Now from the standpoint of, iron, there's, I talk about iron all the time because this is an important factor for women, period. Okay. And maybe not for everybody right now, but I mean, the worst periods of my life happened with menopause, not with regular periods, with menopause. They were the worst I've ever had. So, so until, so you might not need iron every day, but just keep this in the back of your head for all you ladies, because you just never know at some point where you might need just that little push of iron. 99% of the iron in your body is recycled by your body. It's a very unique nutrient. Your body recycles it. So technically, we don't need that much in our diet, okay? Because we recycle it. Now, us ladies lose blood over the course of our life. And so with that, then we do need, to maybe put a little bit in here and there. But because you recycle iron, you can get too much iron. So there are iron storage issues. And so when it comes to taking supplementation of iron, I pretty much, for most people, I need a lab. I need documentation that you need iron. So I want a ferritin level on you. And that's your iron storage. And then I need iron, what we call your iron binding and your iron saturation level. Okay. So we need, just because you can get too much iron. This is more common in men, of course, but it is still something I like to see proof of before I give it. Okay. And then, because then it also helps us understand dosing. Are you going to be 1? Are you going to be 2? Do you need 4? I mean, what's going to be the dosing we need to do on you based on your numbers. So then, there are fabulous liquid sources of iron, like for your 2-year-old. Okay. Now, interesting enough, kids who need iron can develop night terrors. Okay. So it's Children's Hospital will use melatonin and iron for night terrors in kids. Okay. So, it's another, kids will present symptomology of iron issues extremely different than an adult. And iron issues present extremely different in a geriatric patient. So it just depends on where you are in your life cycle, how sometimes things present. So, if something like that's happening, or, maybe it's not all the time, but occasionally you've got a child that does wake up with those things, iron and melatonin combination are a perfect little combo. So very small, you don't need much melatonin for like a 2-year-old, no more than 1 milligram usually I'm going to give to, and we've got liquid versions of melatonin, so we can just do it in drops. We can do the iron in a liquid as well. I have an iron product at the store that I use specifically for that reason. And then, then there's, then as we get into, adults, this is how I describe, most iron supplements that are prescribed is I go, we give you this much iron. How it's easier to understand it. Okay. This much iron, and all you can absorb is about this much. All of this creates nothing but problems in your digestive system. And it causes constipation and cramping and black stool and your ache and you're just upset. So you want that strong absorbable form of iron, the heme form of iron. It is what your body will understand. You will absorb it. It won't constipate you. It won't bother you. It won't create any type of issues in you. And that's, in an adult, that's the only form of iron, you're going to get from me, is that form. Okay. So, if they tell you take 325 milligrams of ferrous sulfate or ferrous gluconate or one of those forms of iron, and you look at my bottle and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, he's only giving me like 30 milligrams. And I'm going to be like, yeah, twice a day, 60. But it's the right form. It's the form you're going to absorb. It is going to be the functional form. Your body's going to use it and we're going to get the results without the side effects. Okay. So there's, there's a product that's one of my favorite, but, in a vegetarian, I'm not going to use it because it's based off of a liver concept. Okay. So it's like an old fashioned liver tablet, and that wouldn't work for a vegetarian. But I have another product that's called Hematin, Anemia Guard, and it is that heme iron, very absorbable, non-upsetting to the stomach. It's just a really good form of iron. Okay.
Would that be able to be taken at any time during the day, with food, without food?
Anytime. Yep.
That's my big problem.
Is when to take it, right? Because if you don't eat with those other forms, man, you're just like, oh, doubled over. It's not comfortable because most of it's not absorbed and it just wreaks havoc in your gut. So that's why, I like that form. And then as far as, then it's, one a day. Sometimes I just have you take it at nighttime because your liver is a big part of your blood product production. And that's why I like the liver fractions. Like, again, I wouldn't use it in a vegetarian or vegan, but I like the liver fractions because your liver is a very, very big part of this whole iron product and function. Okay. Your liver, your kidneys, part of their big job is to turn things that you bring in into functional forms that your body can actually use. Okay. Chicken is not functional in your body. Your body has to process it all the way into all the little pieces that your body can use. So your body has to metabolize things. And the big part of iron function is your liver. And then, of course, from there, your liver sends all those products out to your bone marrow. And that's where you then make all of your blood products. And then you got your whole spleen and recycling, and your liver is involved in all this process again. So, so there are some really good forms. At 35, I had my tubes tied. Doctor nicked an artery coming out of my belly button during the procedure, and I ended up with massive internal bleeding. I had lost a massive amount of blood. I'm cut hip to hip because they had to go in and figure out where I was bleeding from. Anyway, long story short, doctor sat at the edge of my bed after I had my labs had stopped dropping, because even after my surgery, they weren't sure they found the bleeder. But my labs kind of started to hold, and the loss stopped. And doctor sat at the edge of my bed, and he goes, Sunday, you're young and healthy, because by 35, I had found the nutrition world and I felt amazing. And he goes, I'm not going to transfuse you because that'll open up another can of worms. He said, but I'm going to write you this prescription for ferrous sulfate. And then he literally looked at me and said, but I know you, Sunday, and I know you won't take it. And I literally looked at him through my drug-induced state, and I said, you're right, I won't take that stuff. I said, but I will do something. And in 2 weeks, with the liver fractions, I had my hemoglobin and hematocrit back into normal levels. So without constipation, without that GI disturbance, there's amazing things out there to really get those blood products up. Because iron delivers oxygen around your body. So if you're really, really low, like I had somebody in the other day, and she's just like, I made her go get her ferritin and iron and those things checked. She's also having thyroid issues because iron is very, very important into thyroid function. It's a necessary component to function, get your thyroid to function properly. So we checked it. The low end of the range basically on ferritin is like a 5. She was an 8. On the upper end, you're like 250. And she was running at an 8. I said, so when you're running like that, and you're running super low iron and low ferritin, because that's your iron stores, I said, you can walk up your basement stairs and get to the top and like have to stop and breathe, because you can't transport oxygen around your body. Even though you're breathing, you can't deliver it, because iron is a huge factor into delivering those things around your body for function. So, if that's, you're kind of like, I'm just out of shape. And I'm like, well, no, it's because you don't have iron in your body to transport this oxygen properly. So, but you just want to do it right, and you want to do it safely, and you want to do the right forms. Okay. So, now you got some diet tips and then also, the right forms of supplementation. So as far as that iron thing goes. Now, again, B vitamins are important into all your blood products. So I do believe in a good B complex now from a food sourcing, nutritional yeast, in a vegetarian. Now, if you are meat eaters, other ladies on the call, then of course, that'll, the meat will fill in a lot of B's, but we plow through our B's with stress. And, this is, this is a rough month for everybody. I love this month. It's my favorite. I love Christmas. My stress load is here right now. It just is. I did Thanksgiving at my house, everything else. You got to work, right? You got all these things going on. So I take lots of B's this season because I don't want to crash in January, right? I just want to be able to enjoy. I don't want to be stressed out. I want to be sleeping every night because there's just, I enjoy all this, but it is a stressful time of year. Now, not necessarily knowing the ages of all the other people on the call, but every time you have a hot flash, you plowed through every B vitamin in your body instantly. It is literally instantly gone. So those women who are flashing are very stressed out, and they're very irritated, and they're just very uncomfortable for many reasons, but they literally have no B vitamins in their system. So just an FYI, if you're not at that point yet, just plant that in the back of your head, because if you start flashing, you've got to make sure you're compensating with all those B vitamins that you need. B vitamins come in, they do their job, and they leave very quickly. It is just the nature of them. All right. So, and I love bees. If a lot of people that come in my door are just looking for energy and stress relief, and hands down, the first two things I'm going to give you are your B vitamins, and I'm going to give you vitamin D without question. You're going to get both of those from me because those give you energy and they help you with stress. Okay. So bees don't keep you awake. They actually can calm you and relax you. So I even love bee nutrients at bedtime. I find, especially in women, I find women wake up feeling more rested and happy in the morning when they do a bee before bed. Okay. So bees give you energy during the day and they calm and relax you at night. So they don't keep you awake. There's a lot of people have the impression that they keep you awake. And I go, bees are not like a pot of coffee. They're not the same. Okay. So, we're always looking for more energy, right? We're just always need more. So, just because us, moms just don't have the luxury of laying down and taking a nap. So we're just always looking for energy. And that's a big thing for me. Like I said, at 26, when I had my boys, I literally could tell you that I was heading into the chronic fatigue fibromyalgia world at 26. And I was like, there is no way that's going to happen to me. I said, I cannot do that. I'm only 26 years old. So, it's a big deal. So anything that compromises my energy, I just don't do. So like doing that low fat thing, common food at that time was a bagel with low fat cream cheese. And if I consumed that, I was taking a nap by 10 o'clock in the morning and my brain felt like mush. And I can't have that. So those are things I do not start my day with because I need to be on. So, and I want to be on. I feel best that way. So that's so those bees and that whole iron thing, huge factor. So anybody got any other questions for me?
I think Rebecca has a question.
Absolutely.
Yes, I have a quick question about allergies. Well, maybe not a quick question. So my grandkids are, well, one of them in particular is really struggling with this respiratory season. Constant coughs, and her physician said that she thought it was allergies, which we're not convinced of that. However, can you touch on relief?
Sure, absolutely, 100%.
I mean, it feels like she's just had this constant cough for like 3 months.
What age are we talking?
She is 8.
She's 8. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can she swallow capsules yet?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Okay. All right. So just even talking about chewables in general, because we mentioned the Flintstone thing earlier, which I'm not a fan of for kids at all. There's not, first of all, there's not enough there. And did you read the ingredients? It's like, are you kidding?
Exactly. And then I was talking to Misty, it's like cavities and just.
What's the point of this? It's just not, it just doesn't make sense. Okay. So there's ways to do things a little bit healthier. I understand that most kids want a gummy, and I also don't, parents, I can't have a hard time, fighting kids who don't want to take the thing that they're giving them in a chewable. But I bring that up too, because my favorite natural allergy product in the store is a product called D-Hist, and they have a chewable version for kids. And I'll explain that product in a second and what it is, what the ingredients are. So I do even have a few like chewable, like kids vitamins, but a lot of times even with kids is I go to an adult liquid and then I do a fraction of that dose because it's kind of nice. If the adult dose is a tablespoon, then in a kid, I can do anywhere from a half to a full teaspoon, and that's it. That's all they need to do to get their vitamins in and their minerals in. So there's great ways to try and get things in kids in a much healthier fashion. And then that. Now back to allergies, because I I could talk for hours on allergies. Histamine. So let's talk about histamine and what histamine is in the body in general. Okay. Histamine, when we think of it, most people think, well, an antihistamine, because it counters and it calms down the histamine levels. But when histamine elevates in the body, I want to discuss that first. It is a nasty little sucker. Not only does it cause itchy, sneezy, runny nose potential and postnasal drip and drip, 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 drip type of thing that could cause the cough. It can cause heartburn and reflux. It can cause digestive issues. It can raise pain levels. It can cause sleep problems. Histamine is a neurotransmitter, which means it affects your neurochemistry, especially your excitatory neurochemistry. So when kids have elevated histamine, they can have more attention issues and they're more agitated and irritated and feeling stressed. So it's pretty nasty stuff, okay? And there's a lot of things that raise histamine levels in us. So it's not even just an outside allergen or a food that we're kind of reactive to. Because I'm a post-nasal drip type of person. So I do react to certain things when I eat them. I can be like, oh, yep, there goes my nose. Okay. So, and I can feel it down the back of my throat. So probably something that my body's not really caring for. But, we just need to settle it down. And I prefer to settle it down without sedating you. Okay. And without drying you up so bad that you become uncomfortable because now we've dried you up. So one of my favorite natural antihistamines that exists is something called quercetin. It's my favorite. I jokingly refer to the fact that quercetin should be in our water supply. It's that safe and it's that effective. And there's natural ways. Again, I use like the natural chewable form of quercetin called D-Hist in kids because I love it. My grandson will even, be like, can I have, D-Hist? And I'll be like, do you need it? But so, we've done a fairly good job with taste and still keeping all the ingredients healthy and safe at the same time. So those chewables do work really, really well. But quercetin just, again, it doesn't in any way change the mood. It doesn't change and doesn't dry you up. It just does its job to help decrease and lower histamine levels in the body, which could in turn help that postnasally kind of leftover cough thing that might be happening. Now I always have plenty of other ideas. One of my favorite types and groups of things to use in kids is homeopathy. Everybody familiar with the concept of homeopathy? It's different than herbals. Okay. That's a type of, supplementation as herbals. Homeopathy is another type of science. The beauty of that is that we just don't have interactions. We don't have side effects. For anybody not familiar with homeopathy, most moms at some point in their life have tried teething tablets on children. Okay. They're phenomenal at settling down kids without having side effects or worried about interactions of different things. So homeopathy works extremely well in kids. So I use a lot of homeopathic in children and very, very young children. I mean, I will use a homeopathic, like I said, and, I just found out today that my 5-month-old grandson has got a mouthful of irritated looking gums. So teeth are coming. We kind of been figuring this the last few weeks, the way he's been chewing on things. He's not sucking on his pacifier. He's chewing on his pacifier. So he's very irritated. So I'm like, teething tablets, you have teething tablets. And my son's like, I'm almost out. So I have to pick him up some. So homeopathy is great. So I use a product called Chestol. It's a homeopathic company and it's a fabulous cough quieter for kids. Love it. It just, again, outstanding, no side effects, and it just does its job. Now, most likely, Rebecca, I'd probably suggest a little bit of that D-Hist or that quercetin. I don't know if you have any type of supplementation, even an adult product at home that has like quercetin in it. It's been very popular because it's excellent in COVID. And so it's been very popular through COVID in the supplement world to use a lot of quercetin. So people might have it at home. You know, if you have an adult product at home, I will then be like, let's, cut the tablet in half. Let's open the capsule and remove some of the contents. If you really want to give it a try, we can always do something like that. I have no problem with that. I can talk to you about like what to dose or how much of the product to give. But, that's one of the things I would do. If the child was older and ready, and again, your child, but even nasal sprays can do a phenomenal job for settling down kind of that post-nasally kind of drip thing that's going to kind of cause that chronic kind of cough thing to go on. So, though that would be just another suggestion as well.
Okay. Yeah, these are great ideas. I'll maybe have her mom come in and talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, and then of course, there's always those diet factors because I heard years ago a pediatric pulmonologist lecture, and he described a group of people that didn't have breathing problems per se. He just called them mucus producers. And I loved it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That sounds like my granddaughter.
Right. They're just mucus. I'm a mucus producer, think about it. Growing up, my dad was one of those that just was spitting out the window all the time, gross, but just some people just are. So I've got blue eyes. I'm very light sensitive. I walk out in the cold, my nose drips. I see bright light, my eyes water. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? I'm just extremely reactive that way. So I just I'm very postnasally and very drippy. So, I'm very, very familiar with what happens when I get a cold or, I definitely start coughing because I get that postnasal type of thing going on. So, I use nasal sprays. They help me immensely. Again, an 8-year-old is kind of hit or miss if you can get an 8-year-old to want to do a nasal spray. But they themselves that can also settle things down. I use a colloidal silver in each side of my nose every morning, and I use a product called X Clear, which is like a saline xylitol grapefruit seed extract in each side of my nose because I'm very sinus prone. So I just do it to basically keep my sinuses clean and healthy. So, and I love X Clear. During COVID, I actually had people who needed to travel with the X Clear, and anytime they could just do a nasal spray to keep their sinuses clear. So yeah, works really, really well. But again, 8-year-old, not sure if that'll work. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
I have a question regarding.
Anybody have any
Sorry,
other?
I do. So, listening to all the sinus stuff, what are your thoughts on things like neti pots and the Navage nasal flush system?
So I think if you are comfortable with that, I do think that they have their place. Now, of course, there's, you can read bad things about anything if you go online, but, there's been some concerns with different things with neti pots and some of those things. And really what it comes down to is you need a good, clean filtered water when you do this. So, don't just pour it out of the tap. I really want to make sure it's a good, clean, filtered water. And I do like the idea of using, like a saline type of water because that saline, it sounds like, well, it's salt water. Isn't it going to hurt and burn? And I go, actually, salt water moisturizes that tissue. Taste your tears. They're salt water and they moisturize your eyes. So we need that moisture, and so that saltwater type of rinse is best. So just be careful if you're going to do that. Make sure it's just clean. And I know a lot of those, they've got all those other types of nasal rinses now, and they come already prepped with usually like a saline, and that's fine. But yeah, all of that's really good to just keep that tissue moisturized. The thing about like post nasally, when you're like, all this mucus, you're like, well, I'm making all this mucus. And this is mucus tissue, but the problem is you're dry, so then you oversecrete. And then you become dry again, and then you oversecrete. And so you're never healthy. The tissue is never healthy. It's either dry or you're oversecreting. So, what you want to do is do things that moisturize that tissue. And, like even in that X-Clear product, and there's other products that exist like it, and some of those nasal rinses will actually use something called xylitol. Don't let your dog eat xylitol because it's not good for a dog, but it's very, very, very good for a human. But xylitol actually stops infection in the sinuses, and it also moisturizes the sinuses. We use a lot of xylitol-based products for oral health because it stops dry mouth. So xylitol is extremely good, even from that perspective. So, nature gives us amazing things. We have amazing things in nature. We've lost the understanding of how to use them. And just, the nuances of how to use them. So, so anyway, that would, there's great things that exist. So, all right. Anybody else have any other questions? Now, let me see what else. Go ahead.
Do we have to schedule an appointment ahead of time, or can we come in?
I am a first come, first served. Okay. Now my number one girl is leaving and having a baby here soon because we got a grandma in the audience, but grandma to be in the audience. But but I will, I'll be there. And call and make sure that I'm there if you want to chit chat. I've changed my model years ago, so I will talk to you. Sometimes you might have to wait for me if I'm busy with somebody. Just an FYI, if there's more extensive things going on with you, I look at labs every single day, okay? Because I look with different eyes. I look with wellness eyes. I want you feeling well. I just don't want you getting by. I want you feeling well. Okay. So the doctor's range might be like this and my range is here. Okay. So I look at those same exact labs, but I just look at them differently. They use tests to diagnose disease. And maybe you don't have disease yet, but you know that something doesn't feel right. Okay. So we just want to see what they say and where we can fit different pieces in to make you feel better. Okay. And I just want you feeling your best. So that becomes a, big factor. I can keep talking. So if you guys are fine with that, I know one of the things that had been listed was like sleep, mood, learning, different types of things like that. I don't know if that's more for, kids. Of course, I know there's all these fancy different types of diet things. There's always something new, right? You end up that you don't make money on the old stuff. You have to create something new so you can make money on it. So there's always something new coming out. But I'm kind of just I believe in how the body was designed and how we are meant to be. We are meant to wake up with the sun and go to sleep with the sun. We have electricity, so we don't do that. We can fight it. But, it's always, to me, the old saying goes, breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, and dinner like a pauper. All right. And I very much am more of the belief of that. And so from a learning and kids' perspective, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, period. You just went how long without food or water because you slept. And when you wake up in the morning, you got to get water in and get water in your kids. And it's huge. It drives an incredible amount of things. You can just Google importance of water first thing in the morning and get a list of amazing health benefits of getting hydrated first thing in the morning. And then you need food. So, finding a way to do that. And I always also then finish the whole breakfast thing with, there are no breakfast policemen. So nobody's going to come and arrest you for not eating breakfast food for breakfast. So if leftovers are what you're going to have for breakfast, then more power to you. There's a recipe that I've used when my kids were growing up, and it was the best breakfast ever because it was literally cookies for breakfast, but I made them with almond flour. So they were almond flour cookies with eggs, and then, whatever else we wanted to put into them. So sometimes I'd use the Lily's chocolate chips. Sometimes I'd use just a really nice clean chocolate chips, like the Enjoy Life chocolate chips. So there's a little bit of something. You could throw raisins in it if you want to, and whatever type of sweetener. I usually, a lot of times I'm a big honey fan, so I love honey in recipes because I think it can add just that touch of sweetness that you want. And I'd make these cookies, and there's actually a really, really nice almond flour molasses cookie that would be great. There's your iron. So cookies for breakfast, but it's incredibly high protein, incredibly good carbs, good essential fats loaded in that. And it's like, there's breakfast, with all ready and set, and, send your kids out to school. I sent them off to school with cookies this morning, and I was proud of that because they were actually healthy cookies. Okay. So if you're like, oh, I don't know if I could give my kids cookies for breakfast. And I go, well, we give them pancakes. Did you ever tear apart a pancake and see what actually, to me, it's literally cake with frosting on it. That's what a pancake is to me in most cases. You can make them healthier. So like when I make pancakes, I start with a good base, like a buckwheat pancake. And then I put in, if it calls for 2 eggs, I add 4 eggs. And then I put scoops of vanilla protein powder into the batter. So, and then when I put the blueberries in, now I have a very, very high protein pancake. And then, when I make pancakes on a Sunday morning, I make leftovers, and I can throw those things in a toaster just as easy as you can do a frozen one. And then it's a lot healthier. So, getting that solid breakfast and getting hydrated in the morning is just absolutely important and key. And again, there's no breakfast policeman. So if there's something that your kids really like and it happens to be more of a dinner item, but it's a healthy item, then why not give them that for breakfast as far as I'm concerned? So just important to get their day started, just for all of us to get our day started. So we just need those things to give us that energy. Protein is that biggest boost that we need. And then when people crash, like right after lunch, when I see that crash after lunch, the first thing I ask those people is, have you drank any water today? That's my first question. And then the second question I always ask is, what did you have or not have for breakfast? Because most of the time, it's not what you had for lunch that's making you tired. It's what you had for breakfast or that you did not have at breakfast that's making you tired in the afternoon. So hydration first, and then, what type of things you've eaten over the course of the day. It's always that question from an energy standpoint. So, yeah. All right. Anybody got any other questions for me? And I can talk about anything, even if there's any type of off question, you'd be surprised what I can answer. I mentioned vitamin D. Anybody interested in vitamin D? Everybody take vitamin D. Anybody taking it? Amy's shaking her head. Yes. Okay. It is your sun nutrient, and we've all chosen to live here in this state. And right now, just so you understand, the rays of the sun that make vitamin D when they impact our skin, the rays that actually make vitamin D that impact our skin do not even hit us in Wisconsin from here until sometime towards the end of spring. We will not even see those rays. So even if we have a really nice day and you go outside, you are not even able to make vitamin D in this type of weather. So we're relying on our stores of vitamin D, because vitamin D is not a vitamin. It's actually a hormone. By everything in your biochemistry, it's a hormone. So it impacts your thyroid, it impacts your mood. I always say I am a highly motivated person when I take my vitamin D. Okay. I'm a good old Danish girl from Racine. And so the skin cancer in my family is ridiculous. So we're like terrified of the sun, right? So we stay out, we sunscreen, we do all those things. And then I don't make any vitamin D because you cannot make vitamin D through sunscreen and you can't make it through a window. Okay. So, I really rely on my vitamin D. Again, just from a mood standpoint, it just elevates me. And who's not up for some elevation? So it's always a good thing. So remember your vitamin D. On any given day, the human body needs 4,000 to 5,000 units. 4,000 to 5,000 units is 100 to 125 micrograms, mcg. And so unit dosing is going away. Everything's becoming universal. So it's going to milligrams or microgram, and 4,000 to 5,000 units equals 100 to 125 microgram. Just so you know, because bottles are changing. And I don't want you to get confused if you find a bottle that says 100 microgram and here Sunday's telling you to do 4,000. You're like, what? So just got to realize that process is happening. We're crossing over. So just realize 100 micrograms, 4,000 units, exact same thing. So it's just what we need every day. It's actually a very small amount. The thousands make it sound scary, but it's actually microgram dosing. It's extremely small amounts. In 30 minutes of direct summer sun, if you have shorts and a tank top on, you will make 10,000 units. So I'm just asking you to get a daily dose, all right? Somehow, some way. Now, kids need this too, because we sunscreen our kids, right? So our kids need vitamin D as well. So if I've got if I got kids and they're feeling more anxious and stressed, they still need vitamin D. So I will tell you this story because this happened when my daughter was in high school. And, anybody with high schoolers, can understand the attitude that you can get. So I am texting my daughter back and forth. And obviously, whatever was going on in her life was mom's fault that particular day. So we're going back and forth on these texts. And I'm like, wait a second, this wasn't me. What are you talking about? So we're going back and forth. And I finish off the text by going, when you get home from school today, I want we do a liquid vitamin D. So we just do drops. I said, I want you doing 5 drops. I want you to take 5 drops of vitamin D when you get home. And then I sent a smiley face emoji. And then I immediately got back a little smiley face emoji. And then everything was good from then on. And about 2 days later, I was standing in my kitchen. And we always keep our vitamin D, our family vitamin D sits on a shelf in the same spot in the kitchen. Everybody knows where it is. I watched her walk in the kitchen. She went over to the shelf. She opened the vitamin D. She put her head back. She did a few drops of vitamin D and put it back. And I went, that's some good stuff, huh? And she goes, oh my gosh, Mom, I feel so much better. And I go, I know, it's vitamin D. Okay. So it really does impact a lot of well-being and a lot of how you feel. And isn't that, again, that's just what we're all trying to, try to feel good. All right. Life throws us enough curveballs. We got to do something. So I love all those, those pieces. I just need them. I love all my stress and I love all my crazy family and I love all those things, but gotta find a way. So, all right. Any other questions anybody's got for me?
Well, that's not good though.
Because again, I can keep talking, but if everybody's ready to finish, then that's fine. Otherwise, you again just go ahead and throw any questions you've got at me. So whether they're food related or anything else.
Does your place provide we're always on the go sometimes, and then when we're on the go sometimes we just eat crappy food, and snacks or protein bars or anything along those lines?
I do have some bars, and I do have a few different things from a snacks. Believe it or not, there's something I have in the store. Well, it wouldn't work for you, Amy. Sorry, but I have something in the store that's actually a They're like a potato chip, but they're chicken.
Oh, okay.
And they actually have a chicken taste, but they're crunchy, and they actually did a fabulous job. The first time we got them in, just trying them out, I was like, I don't know about this. They actually did a really good job with them. So they're, high protein. So it wouldn't work for you. But I mean, I definitely do have some other vegetarian like bars that have a little bit more protein structure, some good fiber content, that taste good. That's the other thing that's tough, is getting a good bar that has good ingredients that tastes good. Okay. There was one I started carrying, and somewhere along the line, they switched one of the sweeteners to sucralose. And I was livid. That they changed one of the sweeteners to that. It's an artificial sweetener. It's a chlorinated sugar. Not a fan. Immune system compromised. I'm just not a fan. Okay. There's just too much in the research that just makes me go, why? Why would we do this? And I just, got rid of them. And they tasted delicious, which was one of the sad things. And they were keto friendly and all that kind of stuff. And here they, ended up switching it into the sweetener form that I just can't, I just won't do. And don't recommend at all. So there are a few other, things and a few other options. So it's not easy, especially pleasing children. So, it's, I gotta say though, that it is easier now than it was, 15 years ago, than it, we have some more other options. You'd be amazed at what you can find at Woodman's. And I like Woodman's because they're priced right, because you can find a lot of these things at Festival, but it's a different price tag on those things. But at Woodman's, you can find the same thing for like a fraction of the price. Okay. And this is even something just to keep in mind, Missy, too, because, and I haven't done this in a few years, but I love to do it. I used to do this a lot. I used to do classes where everybody brought labels and we read them. We read ingredients. We talked about the ingredients. We talked about healthier ingredients. I've done grocery store walkthroughs where you walk through a grocery store and we read things. Okay. When I was learning all of this, because I went with my coupons and I just bought stuff. Right. So when I started, eating healthier and really paying attention to what my family was eating and reading ingredients, I'm a label reader. I read everything on the label. The tiniest print I'm reading because it's important. And I went to this one when Woodman's first opened years ago. I literally went down to Woodman's. I was in their natural section for 5 hours. And all I was doing was reading labels. And now I can walk into any store and I know instantly what I want or don't want, because I can see a label and spot everything I need. But I needed to learn, and it took me a while to learn. Okay. Because what did all of these fancy words mean on stuff? And so I just started I read all ingredients before I buy anything. So unless it's holiday baking, then I just buy what I need to do for holiday baking. But yeah. So anyway, that's always another possibility, because reading packages is just a fascinating world, because the front of that cover on that package is all marketing. It's all marketing. I have no marketing degree, but I get it. I get marketing. I own a business, so I definitely have to get marketing. But, it's all marketing to you is what that front package is all about. It's what a commercial is. That burger never looks as good in the package as it does on that TV. So it just doesn't. So it's all marketing. So never read the front, always turn it over and read the back. That's where all the information you need to know is. So anyway, that. All right. Well, you ready to shut me down?
Anyone else have questions, or are we good? I think we're good.
Okay,
Good. Thank you for the
awesome.
information. It was great.
Absolutely, absolutely, Lisa. Thank you.